10 California cities are experiencing substantial housing price declines in 2026, driven primarily by wildfire insurance market disruption, post-pandemic affordability corrections, fire damage impacts, and shifting employment and commercial real estate dynamics in markets that experienced rapid appreciation during pandemic conditions. Before we dive in, I need to be extremely clear. Nothing in this video is financial, real estate, or investment advice. I am not a licensed financial advisor, real estate agent, or insurance specialist. What I'm providing is analysis and commentary on publicly available housing price data from sources including Zillow, Redfin, and other market. Alright, let's start with number 10, Big Bear Lake. Big Bear Lake in San Bernardino County has population around 5,000 year-round residents, sitting in San Bernardino Mountains approximately 100 miles east of downtown Los Angeles. For 2 decades, Big Bear was the destination second home market for Los Angeles area buyers. Skiing in winter, lake in summer, roughly 2-hour drive from the city. Property values climbed steadily from early 2000s through end of pandemic appreciation period in 2022. Then 3 factors converged simultaneously. Short-term rental regulations reached Big Bear in 2024, capping permitted rental nights annually and reducing investor yield substantially. Wildfire insurance challenges arrived with California Fair Plan rate increases of 35.8% affecting mountain market policies in 2026. The discretionary second home buyer pool that drove Big Bear prices reassessed total ownership economics. Insurance premiums plus property taxes plus reduced rental income no longer produced acceptable returns. According to Zillow's March 2026 data, the typical Big Bear Lake home sells for $551,700, a 6.4% annual decline. Some trackers still show Big Bear flat. The data and the ground-level mathematics tell a different story. In 2026, second home ownership economics in Big Bear changed in ways that reduced buyer demand at previous price levels. Number 9, Lakeport. Lakeport in Lake County has population around 4,800 residents, sitting on western shore of Clear Lake approximately 2 hours north of San Francisco. For decades, Lakeport was the affordable lakefront alternative to Lake Tahoe. Then 3 factors stacked in combination no other California market has faced simultaneously. First, fire. Approximately 70% of Lake County has burned in past 10 years according to local officials quoted by NPR in November 2025. Second, insurance. Lake County was named in a United States Senate Budget Committee staff report from December 2024 as one of California counties hit hardest by home insurance non-renewals, with carriers leaving market and Fair Plan stepping in as only option for thousands of homeowners. Third, agricultural economics. According to California Department of Food and Agriculture preliminary grape crush reports, Lake County District weighted average wine grape price dropped from $1,877 per ton in 2023 to $1,165 per ton in 2025, representing a 37.9% decline in 2 years. According to Zillow's Home Value Index, the typical Lakeport home now sells for $379,300, a 7.6% annual decline. When the agricultural economy contracts, insurance availability disappears, and 70% of the county has burned, price becomes the primary remaining variable. Number 8, Idlewild Pine Cove. Idlewild Pine Cove in Riverside County sits at 5,400 feet elevation in the San Jacinto Mountains approximately 2 hours east of Los Angeles. Full-time population is under 4,000. For 2 decades, Idlewild was artist colony, writer's retreat, the place Los Angeles residents kept cabins they maintained long-term. Property values climbed through the 2010s and accelerated during pandemic when remote workers started using weekend cabins as year-round residences. Then wildfire risk assessment caught up completely to property market reality. According to data from Redfin's First Street Risk Integration, 100% of properties in Idlewild Pine Cove carry major wildfire risk ratings through the next 30 years. Every single property. Private insurance carriers have been withdrawing from the market for 3 years. Fair Plan is now the only option for most properties. The 35.8% Fair Plan rate increase landing on 2026 renewals is being absorbed entirely by homeowners with no private market alternative. According to Redfin's data, median sale price dropped to $513,000, an 8.5% annual decline. Zillow's Home Value Index shows typical homes at $499,000, a 5.6% decline. The community character remains. The buyer pool willing to pay previous prices for properties without private insurance availability has contracted substantially. Number 7, Oakland. Oakland in Alameda County has population around 440,000, sitting directly across San Francisco Bay from downtown San Francisco. Through the entire 2010s, Oakland positioned as the more affordable, culturally rich alternative to San Francisco. Real estate followed with home values climbing from around $400,000 in 2013 to over $900,000 at peak in 2022. Then multiple factors shifted simultaneously. Technology sector employment adjustments in 2023 and 2024 affected Oakland's commuter, renter, and buyer base directly. Downtown office vacancy climbed past 30% and held there. Major Oakland area employers including Clorox reduced local footprint. Public safety concerns increased, affecting buyer confidence across multiple neighborhood types. New high-rise condominium construction approved during appreciation years kept delivering into a market with reduced capacity to absorb it. According to Zillow's March 2026 Home Value Index, the typical Oakland home sells for $716,248, an 8.5% annual decline. Adjusted for inflation, the real decline approaches 11.4%, steepest of any major American city by that measure. In Oakland zip code 94612, home values are approximately 30% below their 2022 peak according to multiple news sources covering the market in May 2026. The condominium market specifically has returned to price levels not seen since approximately 2014. Oakland's correction isn't driven by fire or insurance. It reflects a market where the story that justified premium pricing over the prior decade stopped resonating with buyers at those price levels. Number 6, Lake Arrowhead. Lake Arrowhead in San Bernardino Mountains has around 10,000 year-round residents, sitting at 5,100 feet elevation roughly 90 miles east of downtown Los Angeles. Its history runs to the 1920s when it was developed as Los Angeles's premier mountain retreat. Historic lodges, old-growth pine forests, gated communities with private lake access. For 90 years, Lake Arrowhead represented one of California's most reliable appreciation markets through multiple economic cycles. Then sequential wildfire events in 2003, 2016, and 2020 accumulated into an insurance industry risk assessment shift. By 2023, private carriers had been quietly leaving the Lake Arrowhead market for 3 years. Fair Plan was already the only option for entire zip codes by 2024. The 35.8% Fair Plan rate increase taking effect in 2026 is being absorbed by Lake Arrowhead owners with no private market alternative available. According to Redfin's March 2026 data, median sale price in Lake Arrowhead dropped to $525,000, an 8.7% annual decline. Insurance carrier withdrawal preceded buyer reduction by years. The price chart subsequently reflected what underwriters had already decided about Lake Arrowhead's risk profile. The mountain didn't change. The water level didn't change. The insurance risk model did. Number 5, Apple Valley. Apple Valley in San Bernardino County has population around 76,000 in high desert roughly 80 miles northeast of downtown Los Angeles. For most of its history, Apple Valley was an affordable desert community reflecting local economic conditions. Then 2020 created rapid and ultimately unsustainable change. Pandemic-era Los Angeles buyers working from home sought affordable inland alternatives. Apple Valley was among the closest desert options to Los Angeles with available inventory. Median home prices climbed from around $310,000 in 2020 to over $500,000 by mid-2022 in approximately 18 months. Local residents earning Apple Valley wages watched their hometown become unaffordable. Then pandemic premium corrected. Mortgage rates above 6.5% broke affordability mathematics for Los Angeles buyers who had driven appreciation. Remote work normalization pulled people back toward employment centers. Local income capacity, which had been overwhelmed by outside buyer demand in 2021 and 2022, became the primary determinant of sustainable price levels. According to Redfin's March 2026 data based on 88 closed sales, the median Apple Valley home now sells for $423,000, a 9.33% annual decline. Apple Valley represents a relatively clean example of pandemic-era appreciation correcting when the conditions that drove it normalized. The pandemic priced out locals. Post-pandemic mathematics is now repricing properties toward levels the local economic base can actually support. Number 4, Malibu. Malibu in Los Angeles County has population around 10,500 residents stretching along 21 miles of Pacific Coast Highway. For 70 years, Malibu represented one of California real estate's most consistent rules. Regardless of what happened elsewhere in the state, Malibu appreciated. Celebrity buyers, trust fund buyers, international buyers, Pacific Ocean views with privacy and prestige. Through every California recession of past 4 decades, Malibu held and appreciated. Then the Palisades fire burning through January 2025 moved up the coast into Malibu, destroyed homes along Pacific Coast Highway, and fundamentally changed insurance and buyer mathematics across parcels within the Santa Monica Mountains fire perimeter. Private insurance carriers that had been gradually leaving Malibu over 3 years accelerated their exit. Fair plan policies replaced them at premium multiples. Buyers who had treated Malibu as a reliable appreciation investment began asking insurance availability and cost questions they hadn't previously needed to ask. According to Redfin's March 2026 data, median Malibu home sells for $4.8 million, a 13.6% annual decline. Other trackers show steeper declines, with some analyses putting the median around $3,447,000, representing a larger year-over-year decline. Land values in fire-affected sections are down between 20 and 60% according to various market analyses. The view didn't change, the coastline didn't change, the address didn't change. The insurance landscape and the buyer pool willing to pay previous prices given that landscape changed substantially. Number 3, Topanga. Topanga is an unincorporated community in Los Angeles County tucked into the Santa Monica Mountains between Malibu and San Fernando Valley, with year-round population around 8,000. Over 60 years, Topanga cultivated a distinct identity: artists, writers, musicians, canyon homes with architectural approaches that flat lots couldn't accommodate. Property values carried a premium for that identity through 2024. Then the Palisades fire crossed Topanga Canyon Boulevard, burned through homes along Old Topanga Canyon Road, and added Topanga to the LA County wildfire perimeter for the first time in the modern era. According to Redfin's March 2026 market report based on 6 closed sales that month, median home price in Topanga dropped to $1,718,750, a 43.3% annual decline. Median price per square foot dropped 43.4%. The previous month showed similar patterns across 7 sales averaging a 39.6% annual decline. Small sample sizes create monthly percentage volatility, but Zillow's Smooth Home Value Index confirms meaningful decline in the underlying direction. Topanga Canyon is on CAL FIRE's very high fire hazard severity zone map. Traditional insurance is difficult or impossible to obtain for many properties. The community character remains. The insurance availability for million-dollar canyon properties has fundamentally changed, and the buyer pool at previous price levels reflects that change. And number 1, Altadena. Altadena is an unincorporated community in Los Angeles County at the foot of the San Gabriel Mountains directly north of Pasadena, with pre-fire population around 42,000 residents. For most of the 20th century, Altadena was a racially diverse middle-class community offering historic craftsman bungalows, tree-lined streets, and relative affordability compared to neighboring Pasadena. Working and middle-class families who had been priced out of other Los Angeles County communities could still own homes here. In September 2023, the median Altadena home was selling for $1.5 million, an all-time high. Then the Eaton fire ignited January 7, 2025. According to CAL FIRE's final incident report, the Eaton fire became the second most destructive wildfire in California history, destroying 9,418 structures and killing 17 people. By March 2025, median sale prices in Altadena had dropped to $710,000. From the $1.5 million peak to $710,000 represents a 53% decline in approximately 18 months. According to data from 2026, the Altadena median partially recovered from the March 2025 low to approximately $990,000 by February 2026. That figure remains 34% below the pre-fire peak. Zillow's Smooth Home Value Index puts the typical home at $1,165,712, showing a 3.8% annual decline that masks the underlying volatility of a market still finding its level. Investors are purchasing between 30 and 40% of vacant lots in Altadena according to Realtor.com estimates. Longtime residents who lost homes their families owned for decades face substantial challenges returning at current price levels even following the decline from peak. The fire took the structures. The market took the equity. The buyers arriving 15 months later are largely different from the families who previously lived in Altadena. The community that existed in 2023 at 2023 prices won't return. What emerges depends on rebuilding pace, insurance availability, and who the ultimate buyer pool for rebuilt properties proves to be. So those are 10 California cities experiencing meaningful housing price declines in 2026. The thread connecting most of them is insurance. Oakland stands apart as an employment and commercial real estate story. Apple Valley is a pandemic-era affordability correction. But Big Bear Lake, Lakeport, Idlewild Pine Cove, Lake Arrowhead, Malibu, Topanga, and Altadena all face insurance market changes as primary or significant contributing factor to price pressure. The Fair Plan rate increase of 35.8% taking effect in 2026 is the largest in 7 years. It reflects a structural shift in how California's insurance market is pricing wildfire risk accumulated through years of increasingly severe fire events. This isn't a cyclical adjustment that normalizes back to previous conditions. This is the insurance market incorporating risk data that previous pricing structures hadn't adequately reflected. That structural shift affects property values in impacted areas because total ownership cost rises substantially when insurance costs increase significantly, which reduces the buyer pool willing to pay previous price levels. For homeowners in these markets, understanding which specific factor affects your property matters for planning. Fire-damaged areas face rebuilding economics and insurance challenges that will take years to resolve. Insurance-challenged but physically intact properties face buyer pool contraction because increased ownership costs reduce the number of qualified and willing buyers at previous prices. Affordability correction markets like Apple Valley face different mathematics tied to local income levels and mortgage rate conditions. Each situation requires specific analysis rather than one-size-fits-all assessment. For potential buyers, these markets offer reduced prices relative to recent peaks. But price reduction alone doesn't establish value if structural challenges persist. Independent assessment of insurance availability and realistic long-term costs, fire risk and mitigation requirements for specific properties, local economic fundamentals supporting ongoing demand, and realistic appreciation expectations based on changed underlying conditions is essential before any purchase decision. That's the breakdown of 10 California cities experiencing price declines and the specific factors driving each market's adjustments. Thanks for watching. If you found this analysis helpful, let me know in the comments. Share your experience if you own property in any of these areas or have observations about local conditions. And if you want more California housing market content with careful data analysis and no sensationalism, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one. Effect in 2026 is the largest in 7 years. It reflects a structural shift in how California's insurance market is pricing wildfire risk accumulated through years of increasingly severe fire events. This isn't a cyclical adjustment that normalizes back to previous conditions. This is the insurance market incorporating risk data that previous pricing structures hadn't adequately reflected. That structural shift affects property values in impacted areas because total ownership cost rises substantially when insurance costs increase significantly, which reduces the buyer pool willing to pay previous price levels. For homeowners in these markets, understanding which specific factor affects your property matters for planning. Fire-damaged areas face rebuilding economics and insurance challenges that will take years to resolve. Insurance-challenged but physically intact properties face buyer pool contraction because increased ownership costs reduce the number of qualified and willing buyers at previous prices. Affordability correction markets like Apple Valley face different mathematics tied to local income levels and mortgage rate conditions. Each situation requires specific analysis rather than one-size-fits-all assessment. For potential buyers, these markets offer reduced prices relative to recent peaks. But price reduction alone doesn't establish value if structural challenges persist. Independent assessment of insurance availability and realistic long-term costs, fire risk and mitigation requirements for specific properties, local economic fundamentals supporting ongoing demand, and realistic appreciation expectations based on changed underlying conditions is essential before any purchase decision. That's the breakdown of 10 California cities experiencing price declines and the specific factors driving each market's adjustments. Thanks for watching. If you found this analysis helpful, let me know in the comments. Share your experience if you own property in any of these areas or have observations about local conditions. And if you want more California housing market content with careful data analysis and no sensationalism, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.